Hello, groupies. Welcome to the start of our unpack of 7 habits of highly effective people. Yeah, you got
different versions.
Yeah, yours looks a bit newer, nicer than mine. Of course. Always a show off, Colleen.
Oh, can't help
it. So both myself and Colleen are going to take you through the 7 habits, and we'll do them live, each habit on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. But for the first one, because there was such good little pieces of information and we haven't even got into the habits yet, we thought we'd just give a quick unpack of this first section, the part 1 of paradigms, isn't it? And yeah, so we'll have a bit of a chat about that because there's just so many goodies in here that we thought we would do this first before we actually get into the 7 habits. So I mean, I did explain this on Sunday in my live about what a habit is, and in the book they define it. We will define a habit as the intersection of knowledge, skill and desire. Knowledge is what we do and the why. Skill is how we do it, and the desire is the motivation or the want to do it, which I found, quite interesting. So it's the knowledge is what to do and why we're doing it, and the skill is how are we going to do it, and then obviously the motivation to actually do it. Now, I think we get stuck on the why and how, but the actual doing is probably stuck. And we don't seem to take that next step because sometimes it could be, oh, it's not perfect yet, I'm not quite ready, I'll start it next week. All these excuses.
Haven't we heard ourselves say that a few times?
Never. And I also like this quote: we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. So to create a habit we actually have to act on it. So it's trying to keep it and get it to that place where we don't have to think anymore, that it becomes second nature. And our non-negotiables.
Indeed.
So and that's what we're all about, trying to create those habits. But also, like we say, the motivation can only last for so long. When you listen to our videos here, I know the motivation is super high when you leave and you got to, I'll do that, and then tomorrow comes and you're like, I meant to do that. I'll start that tomorrow. I'll get into that. And then again, the excuses come into it, and guilty of it. It's human nature. So
not alone.
So that's why, it's just something that we're just going to keep working on. But it makes it worth it. And but what we tend to do is, when with those excuses in our head, it's that story that we're telling ourselves. It's that repeated playlist playing in our head of why we can't do things or why we choose not to do it, instead of actually going out there and doing it. So one of the main takeaways that we want to talk about, which is, or changed my mind when I learned more about this, changed my world, is the map is not the territory. Which goes into this as well, and this is something that we've learned over the last few years.
And as you said, Nikki, when you learn this, it just changes everything.
Absolutely. And so the map is not the territory. Do you want to give your version of what that means, Colleen?
Sure. So for me, I think growing up, I always thought everyone around me had, saw things the same as I did. And, you'd get frustrated when people wouldn't understand what you're talking about, or they had different perspectives to you. But when you sort of learn about the map is not the territory, it's where we understand that every one of us has had a completely different experience of life. And what I see in my map is what I've learned and the experiences I've had, and they're so completely different that my view on the world doesn't marry up with anyone else's. And so it opens up the possibilities and the curiosity to other people, and the depth of conversations changes, and the awareness of people around you changes. Just knowing that everyone is so completely different and we have completely different maps, and when we know this, we can actually improve our communication.
And it's perspective, isn't it?
It is. It's perspective. Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly.
So he actually says an example in the book, doesn't he, about how he was on a train?
Now, this example, he uses the example of a picture, sharing a picture of what looks to be a young woman, very attractive, with a nice what do you call it, choker sort of piece around her neck, and then he goes on to say that it's an old lady. And for the life of me, I stared at this picture for so long. And I could not see the old lady. Can anyone? Oh, you know what? Now that
I can see the old lady.
I can see the old lady.
I know.
But initially, all I could see was this profile of this lovely young lady.
So the young lady, there's her eye. That's her hair. A little bit of a note. That's her chin there. Her ear. Her choker around her neck, and her shawl. Now, I don't know if you can see the old lady, but I could see the old lady very clearly. She's got, there's her hair, the nose there, big nose there, eye, her mouth is that black there, that's her chin, and then that's her shawl. So I don't know if you can see the two different, but it's pretty amazing. So a lot of people saw the young woman, and then they didn't see the older woman.
And he was talking, it was like hundreds of people, wasn't it? Like in an auditorium or something, that could only see the young woman. No one could picture the old woman there. Yeah.
And that just comes back from what we're conditioned, and that comes from our upbringing, or what we've been taught to look for, or what a scenario is being told to us, and then we will look for that. It's like another one that they've done where you go and say, okay, I want you to look at this room and find everything that's blue. Okay, you've got 30 seconds to look around for everything that's blue. In your head, you're going, okay, so that, okay, no. You're trying to memorize them, and then they go, okay, I want you to let me know everything in the room that was red. Now, you can't. You can name it. I think we did this as a exercise. I couldn't tell what was red. I was too busy focusing on the blue, but there's lots of red things in the room, but it's just what you were focusing on. So our filter system is kind of what we focus on. So the room had plenty of different coloured objects, but you were told to focus on this particular one.
Yeah. So we're deleting and distorting anything that we don't, that's not familiar to us.
No. And we're in the same room, but we're not seeing that. So again, that's like the map is not the territory, the way we see the world is
Yeah.
through our own lens, which he talks
Yeah.
about as well.
And there was another story in the book about so Stephen Covey was on a train, and he was sitting quietly on his own on the train, and there was quite a few other people in the carriage, and a gentleman came on the train with his children, and the children were running amok in the train and annoying the other passengers. And so Stephen asked this gentleman if he could control his children, and the gentleman responded with, yes, I probably should. Their mother, we've just come from the hospital, their mother's passed away and I don't know what to do. And the impact and the change in perspective that had on Stephen Covey. And I think we've all been in a situation where we've seen that as these disobedient children running amok, but have we actually considered, what's happening for them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think once you sort of get outside your own head and realize, oh my God, there's different perspectives and different scenarios and what people have experienced, you just never know. So I guess it's being that open-minded to go that just your perspective isn't the only one out there. So what you're seeing isn't necessarily the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you've made a scenario, I don't know about you, but you make a scenario in your head about a certain person, and they don't like me, or they got no time for me, that this and this. And then
I remember someone feeling that way when I first met them.
I know. When me and Colleen first met, we were at this course, and I was feeling for Colleen because she had just lost her mother. And for those who don't know, I lost my mother when I was 18 as well. So I was just feeling for her, and never met her in my life. And then we're in the toilet and I was washing my hands, and she'd come beside me, and I'm like, sort of gave a smile, trying to, get eye contact. She didn't even look at me. She didn't even, she just, well, I'm like, okay, fine then. Lucky, I know that you're going through a hard time at the moment, but God, at least a bit of a hello.
And look at us now.
Yeah, I had a scenario about Colleen in my head, and it was all in my head. So we just got to be kind to ourselves, but to others as well. So, but what we actually do have is that because there's so much going around us at once, and it's only getting worse, they say 2 million bits of information are coming at us at once. Every second, I think.
Yeah, because when you think about, that's every sensation. So the information's, the air touching our skin, all the different things we're seeing, the noises we're hearing, there's so much in it that's just coming at us. Yeah,
so we get all this information. So if we actually took all that in, we'd actually go insane. So we can't physically take that in or mentally take that in, otherwise we would not be able to handle everything. So what our mind does is it filters all that information into 7 chunks, 7 plus or minus 2, so you up between 5 and 9 chunks, but 7's kind of like your average. So 7 bits of information, it goes through a filter system, and that comes from your belief systems, your conditioning, values, things that happened in your childhood. So, and that all comes into this filter system, and then that's what you're looking at. So that's what you're looking through, those lenses of all that conditioning. So realistically, I guess that torch analogy, torch that shines, we're only seeing this much of this much of what is actually happening around us. But what's in my 7 chunks is different to what's in Colleen's 7 chunks.
My 7 chunks are very different.
Yeah. And then what's in your 7 chunks is very different to what's in our 7 chunks. So it was mind-blowing once I realised this, because you go, why don't they understand what I'm trying to say? Or I can understand why people say that, actually. Carolyn, if you're watching, my interpreter. But it's, yeah, you're like, I don't understand where you're coming from. Why would you think like that?
Yeah. And how many arguments and tension, you know, from those really minor things, that we get so frustrated because our focus is so different to someone else's, but all we can see is what we can see.
Yep. And we think we're right.
Oh gosh,
I don't know about you, but
always right.
Yeah, that's right. Never wrong. But I guess that's, yeah, when you get an understanding of that, you like it makes you open. But then the more that you're open to that, the more chunks you're able to take in as well. So or better quality chunks, I would say. So what you choose to focus on might be better. So for instance, you've got 7 chunks that you can take in. You want to choose them wisely. Now, if I'm worried about what Colleen's worried about me, or thinking, and, you know, I'm worried about what Colleen thinks, oh, she doesn't like me, you know, when we first met, or she didn't even look, you know, but my 7 chunks are set around Colleen of what she was thinking of me, when I could have been missing so many other opportunities to talk to people or take certain scenarios in or whatever. But we are so stuck in our head that, and a lot of it's in the past, what are your 7 chunks being taken up with? So then six chunks are taken up from your past, and you might have 1 that you're looking to in the present. And what opportunities are we missing out on as a result?
Yeah. Very good point. And, you know, like you were saying before, it's we are so good at putting meanings on stuff. Like, we're meaning-making machines. And, you know, I'm making what you do mean something because that's what's in my map. But the meaning you have on that, you know, that comment, that look, that action is completely different to what I might be seeing.
Absolutely. So what you're worried about, I mightn't think about at all. So we could go to the same seminar, which we did, but in 2 completely different states just recently.
Yeah.
And how Colleen might have seen a scenario could be completely different to the way I saw it. Now, we went to the same seminar, but what she took out of it and what I took out of it, we would have taken out our different chunks from it. But it could be what I was focusing on. She might take out certain information and go, I don't remember him saying that. And then I might talk to Colleen and say, do you remember this? And she goes, no, because what she was trying to take out of it might be completely different to what I was taking out of it, because I might have been focusing on something else. I always love the analogy of when you're buying a new car, you know, you don't take any notice of what cars are on the road.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you're buying, say you want to buy a Hyundai, I don't know, I can't think of one, a Hyundai
i30. Let's go with an i30.
Didn't take any notice, but I've been looking at one. I'm not at the moment, but say I was. And then all I see is Hyundai i30s everywhere.
Yeah.
Never looked at them before in my life, but then you see them everywhere. So again, my chunks would be focused on one of my chunks is focused on this car, because that's something that
it's important at that time.
Yeah, it's important to me at that time. So you really just want, the moral of the story is, what 7 chunks are you filling your head with Are they good quality chunks,
Mhm.
or are they wasting your time and energy?
Yeah.
That would be my takeaway, and that was my biggest aha moment when I learned all this as well. It's like, okay.
Careful what those chunks are.
Yeah. So, and realizing that, yeah, what I think, not everyone thinks the same as me, which I kind of knew anyway, but
Unique.
That's what I like to say. Thank you, Colleen. So yeah, all this is, it's just the little things that you learn, you know, and you can take this into your everyday life. Not just being aware of those 7 chunks makes a big difference. Even talking about this has just reminded me of being aware of what 7 chunks I've got going on in my head, and I think that just comes down to, what are you telling yourself? You're playing that same record. If that's happening, it's time to change it.
Scratch that record.
Scratch that record, get a new filter, and start changing those belief systems, because those chunks come from what you believe about yourself, about others, and about the world around you. Maybe it's time to start challenging them and ask, are they actually true?
Yeah. Are they serving you?
Yeah. All right, well, that's that first section. I think that's what we took out of it from the habits.
There was quite a lot in there, but that was probably the most important part. Yeah.
That's the bit that we want to talk, because we don't want to overwhelm it as well. But next Thursday night, we will be chatting here live, so you can join us if you want to, and we can have a discussion, because the best way you're going to learn is when you read and then you discuss it after. That's when it sinks in. So join us.
Yeah, as we unpack.
You can have a wine, you can have a coffee, you can have a tea. We'll be here, and yeah, we'd love to see you as we do. So thank you so much, Colleen, for joining me.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to unpacking the first habit.
And what is that one again? Be proactive.
Be proactive, I think, is the right one. Yes.
So that will working quite well with the time session that we did a recording on that. Please listen to if you haven't already, because there's some tips that Colleen had there about being proactive as well and using our time. So.
Sure.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.
See everyone.
Bye.